I was being burned alive.
Christy Sims' life was forever changed when she suffered a vicious attack at the hands of her jealous ex-boyfriend that left her permanently disfigured.
My girlfriend, I think it's drain cleaner. We were just putting it in the toilet and we slipped.
Christy's relationship with Andrew Fordham had become abusive. From wanting to control what she wore to trying to isolate her from her friends, Andrew's toxic behavior had led Christy to a final decision. She was going to leave him.
He was controlling, he was possessive, he was jealous, and I just didn't feel right about it anymore.
However, it had taken a while for her to come to this realization.
In the beginning, control sometimes feels like love.
Yes.
Because it's a lot of attention.
But there was no love in Andrew's behavior.
It's about power and control.
So when the day finally came and Christy broke the news to Andrew that their relationship was over, he decided to take revenge on her in the most cruel and sadistic way. Christy suddenly found him standing in the middle of the hallway. Andrew was half naked and was staring fixedly at Christy.
Only wearing boxers, no shoes, no gloves, no shirt, nothing, and he's holding a yellow bowl from my kitchen, which made no sense to me.
What Christy didn't know was that inside the bowl was not water, but an industrial-grade drain cleaner containing 93% sulfuric acid. Then, he did it. Andrew hurled the contents of the bowl directly onto Christy's face. Perhaps fearing the acid might kill her, Andrew called 911.
Can you get in her eyes as well?
Is it in your eyes? She said yes.
It sounds like she needs to get in the shower.
However, Andrew knowingly ignored the instructions.
They told him to rinse me off. He came over to me in a calm voice and said, "Baby, just sit here. They said not to rinse you off."
By doing this, Andrew was making sure Christy's burns were as bad as possible and that her face would be disfigured beyond recognition.
I was a pretty woman. I think he wanted to definitely disfigure me. He wanted me to be unattractive for any other man.
When the paramedics arrived, the most torrential rainfall of all 2013 was raging on, and it was that rainfall that they used to rinse Christy's chemically burned body off.
It was the rainwater that saved my life because the acid came within 2 centimeters of my heart.
Christy sustained 3rd and 4th degree burns over 20% of her body, including her entire face, neck, chest, and arms. After the incident, she remained in an induced coma for 2 months and endured numerous life-saving surgeries.
Literally, the skin burned off of my entire upper torso.
A local surgeon offered to give Christy free reconstructive surgery, including hundreds of laser treatments, which likely saved her from bankruptcy.
It's not just the physical scars, it's the emotional scars, financial. My whole life was turned upside down financially.
While Christy was in a coma, Andrew was unbelievably set free. He'd said the whole thing had been an accident, and the police had believed him.
Not in a million years would I have ever done this to you intentionally. This was an accident.
However, after Christy woke up and pressed charges, the judge did not think the same.
It will be 20 years to serve in the state penal system.
Now, through the Christy Sims Foundation, Christy travels to middle schools and high schools telling her story, teaching about the warning signs of abuse to prevent other people from suffering its horrors, all while maintaining awe-inspiring optimism.
No matter how bad stuff is, like even being grateful for this little dimple right here, you just find a way to be grateful, and that's how you survive. You find something positive in the negative.
Our next story concerns Andreas Christopheros. This man's life was changed forever when a stranger arrived on his doorstep and threw acid into his face.
Plain inexplicable. You can't even comprehend.
29-year-old Andreas Christopheros had just become a father when a man he'd never met arrived on his doorstep.
Knock on the door, expecting it to be yet another parcel or neighbor or whatever. Open the door as you would normally, and one motion, bang.
As soon as he opened the door, Andreas was hit in the face with battery acid. The substance instantly began burning through his skin and clothes.
My t-shirt dissolved. It was like a waistcoat. There was no mistake, no doubt in my mind.
In excruciating pain and complete shock, Andreas called for his wife to call the police. Concentrated sulfuric acid works fast, breaking down whatever it touches in seconds. The liquid was sprayed over a large area, creating toxic fumes that required his 18-month-old son to receive medical treatment after he was exposed.
They just disintegrated just like his t-shirt did.
Andreas attempted to wash the burning substance from his face, but he knew immediately that horrific damage had been done.
My face swelled up, but it felt dead. It felt I touched it and it just didn't feel like my skin. It was dying, decomposing already.
Andreas was rushed to hospital where he managed to share enough information about the attack before falling unconscious.
Just enough information for the police, and then blacked out, wake up 4 days later.
Andreas spent 4 days in a coma. His friends and family were told to expect the worst as he battled for his life. Police were baffled as to why a seemingly innocent man had been the target of such a horrific attack. Some started to suspect that there was something Andreas wasn't telling them.
Every millimeter of our life, they went through looking for a reason that wasn't there.
After an extensive investigation, David Phillips was arrested and charged with carrying out the attack. It was discovered that the 48-year-old had driven 300 miles across the country to get revenge on someone who had allegedly sexually assaulted a loved one. However, Phillips had arrived at the wrong house.
He believed he was attacking the person who committed the assault.
Phillips was originally sentenced to a life sentence for the attack, but ended up spending 8 years in prison before his release. Andreas has described being sickened by his early release and has spent years trying to stress the impact such horrific attacks have on victims and their families. Acid attacks, like the brutal assault Andreas Christopheros faced, have become a global concern, affecting thousands of innocent victims each year. In Andreas's case, a misdirected vendetta turned his life upside down, underscoring the catastrophic consequences of such violence. While Andreas continues to rebuild his life, he remains vocal about the need for justice and protection, hoping to prevent others from experiencing the same nightmare.
Every aspect of my life has been affected by what he did to me. Every aspect.
Our final story concerns Alexandra Dyer.
Why did he throw water on me? And then I was on fire. I was totally on fire.
Alexandra Dyer was walking calmly down the street when her life changed forever. A man she had never seen before tried to kill her as part of a plot to steal nearly $1 million. But who was behind the heartless attack?
You think they were trying to kill you?
I think they wanted me dead.
It was 2015. Dyer was the recently appointed executive director of a local charity called Healing Arts Initiative that brought entertainment into hospitals and nursing homes for people with social, mental, or physical challenges. It was a normal day of work until someone threw acid at her face.
Pretty gruesome, that first day, you know? Pretty tough stuff.
The brutal attack took place just as Dyer was leaving her workplace.
It happened when Alexandra Dyer was leaving work. It was 5 p.m. She was walking down this street in Queens, New York, to her car. Then she saw a stranger waiting for her.
That was the moment a stranger approached Dyer, and with a swift movement, forever changed the course of her life.
I saw him lunge at me, and then I felt this thrown in my face.
But who was this man, and who was he working for? It all ties back to the Healing Arts Initiative. Dyer had recently found out that the bookkeeper, Kim Williams, was stealing from the organization.
There were very serious financial misdeeds that were occurring.
Williams had embezzled more than $750,000 and had been caught. In an attempt to get rid of Dyer, Williams had ordered a man named Jerry Mohammed to throw a caustic commercial drain cleaner on her. But Dyer would not be silenced, and she knew right away exactly who was responsible for the attack.
When did you realize who did this to you?
I knew immediately because when I was in the street shrieking, and then I heard a woman screaming, "Oh my God, she's turning purple." So obviously the lie was doing its job and it was eating my flesh. I kept saying, make sure nothing goes in my mouth, because if I can't speak, I can't tell you who did it, and it was Kim Williams.
During the trial, Dyer and prosecutors made sure they were placed right in front of Mohammed and Williams.
Here is your handiwork. Look what you've done to a life.
The defendants refused to speak or look at the gruesome photos of the aftermath of their actions on Dyer's burned skin. However, Dyer was unshaken by their attitude, and she went on to describe in detail the amount of harm she had suffered at the hands of her attackers.
My face and body will carry scars for the rest of my life. I no longer have eyebrows or eyelashes or my own eyelids.
Williams and Mohammed showed no signs of guilt or remorse.
He did not show any remorse.
That was very unfortunate and very disappointing.
As both of them were sentenced to spend 17 years behind bars.
Bad doesn't win out.
Despite having spent 2 months in the hospital undergoing skin grafts, depending on her family and loved ones to read aloud to her when her eyes were sewn shut, Dyers proved to have an unbreakable spirit.
I would look in the mirror and I would just ask, "Where are you, Alexandra?" And I couldn't see me. And one day, I looked in the mirror and I said, "There you are. There you are."
Justice was served, and Dyer could close a chapter and move on, sharing one last message of hope for anyone who might need it.
There's always someone or something that can help you. Come back.
Across the world, especially in countries like the UK, India, and Bangladesh, acid attacks have risen, often targeting individuals over personal disputes or misguided revenge. With each new case, there's an increasing outcry from advocates and lawmakers to impose harsher penalties, restrict acid sales, and expand support for survivors. Thank you for watching Crime 101. Make sure to subscribe for more.